Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo Chapter 18 leaks out. Spoiler warning, I'm gonna get straight into this one because this is unironically shaping up to be one of my favorite Jujutsu Kaisen chapters of all time. It's incredible. There's everything you can want. One of the best drawn fights in the series, some incredibly interesting lore, very interesting narrative and character writing stuff, especially for Darra, which I'm very interested in. And then there's also scaling stuff and, agenda, which if you're into that, then this chapter's the one for you. But I'm gonna make it very clear before I say anything. Everything I'm saying right now is based off the dodgiest of dodgy translations you have ever seen in your life. Everything I say needs to be taken with a grain of salt. If anyone takes anything I say here too literally, and then start spreading misinformation, I'm not responsible for this, alright? I'm just reading what I see and I'm speculating, that's all. Making that very clear now. Like I said, these fights, both of them going on right now, they look like, when I look at them, I feel like I'm watching a Mappa animation. They're just like, visually, one of, if not the, best fights in Jujutsu Kaisen. Like, definitely top 3, at least Mahoraga vs. Darra is top 3 for me visually, it's so good. But we start off with Maru and Tsurugi, obviously, or Rika Tsurugi. Maru basically just gets his ass handed to him. There is some dialogue though, and potentially an absolutely unbelievable Yuta upscale, like a prime Yuta upscale, because we get a translation that reads, "The source of the power is the ring, a memento of his grandfather. It is not an amount of power that could ever fit inside a single person." Now, we knew this about Yuta already. His cursed energy was so overwhelming that Rika had to act as a storage, okay? So that is something we know, but then we get this. It's the result of a user with boundless cursed energy pouring it in over many decades, which implies that over the decades Yuta was alive, as he's pouring more and more of his cursed energy into this ring and imbuing it, it just became, so unbelievably broken that Maru can't even comprehend how it exists. Which is basically saying, yes, Yuta got way stronger, moving into his prime the more years passed, because the more and more cursed energy he basically poured into this ring, which means, in theory, the power held in that ring should just be, a lot stronger than what was in original JJK. I'm a Yuta Glazer, big Yuta agenda, but again, translations are very important, so I'm just saying. Anyway, Maru gets his ass clapped. He then does this thing where he uses the water in the ground or something to summon trees and basically grow plants, which is a really cool ability or something like that. I don't know. Don't take my word for it 'cause it's quite hard to figure out. And then we go back to Darra and Mahoraga with one of the toughest pages in Jujutsu Kaisen's history. Mahoraga stood on top of a building looking down on Darra. I did not think this chapter was going to go the way it was, but Darra is getting his ass absolutely handed to him in this chapter. Genuinely, the agenda and slander we're about to see could be close to Gojo Sukuna, prime Gojo Sukuna levels of agenda and slander. Because this supposedly Sukuna level threat is being clowned on by Mahoraga. And it does seem like his curse technique, the light thing, was the only thing he had in his arsenal. And now that Mahoraga's adapted to it, Darra is slowly realizing that he ain't gonna be able to beat this guy, which is not something he was expecting, because his character is so used to not being contested by literally anybody else ever. He just was so certain going into it that no one would be able to impress him, because it's never happened before. This whole experience is completely new to him. And despite what the slander and agenda is gonna say, I think that is beautiful writing. I love it. I love that we're not just... I know the fandom's gonna get upset because they're all power scaling, agenda pushing nerds who can't read. But I love that we're not just rehashing the old, oh, bad guy or really strong guy who just wants to run a fade with people. He's not Sukuna. He's not Gojo. Alright, he's not built like that. The isolation theme applies differently to him. It's a different interpretation. So the fact that he gets punched by Mahoraga, he gets beaten up, ending up looking like a fraud, bro. He's sat there bleeding, crashed into a wall, just sat on his ass, looking so stressed. He looks so stressed. And he's going, I don't think I have anything left to beat this guy. Am I gonna lose? And he thinks about Darra. We see a little flashback, he thinks back to Darra, and he's like, I think I'm gonna lose this, and I'm scared, and I'm in pain, and it hurts. And that's just such a unique and fresh, refreshing take on this kind of theme. Because Gojo and Sukuna were very, fuck it, we ball. I really like that Darra is never experiencing this. He seems a lot more sensitive, kind of, than Gojo and Sukuna. And I do really find it interesting that he got his ass beat, and he's happy to sit there and admit that he's scared. He's scared of what comes next, because he's never experienced this feeling of losing before, or having his life on the line, really. Which is just really interesting, to be honest. And I know the agenda is just going to be like, oh my god, this character sucks because they said he was Sukuna level and he actually wasn't Sukuna. I never wanted this guy to be a Sukuna clone, and I am so glad he isn't. Alright, so that's cool. I really like that. So anyway, we basically just see them fighting, okay? And slowly Darra is realizing he's looking more and more stressed. He's realizing Mahoraga is like adapting to his attacks. There's this amazing panel where Mahoraga deadass just does the Hikari renewal page. You know, when Hikari like does renewal in his domain and it shatters the glass and he like kind of crosses his arms. I'll show the Hikari panel. It basically is just that exact panel, even with the shattering glass, because Mahoraga shatters the light beams. That's really cool. Nice little reference to Hikari there. And then Darra just keeps like moving on Mahoraga, but now he's adapted to the point where these attacks are doing nothing, like literally nothing. We're at a point where Darra is now taking hits. He gets slashed across the face. Okay, sure, like that's nothing crazy, but then he starts getting pounded. Like he starts getting pounded to the point, bro, Mahoraga beats this guy into a flashback. Do you know how mad that is? Obviously, Mahoraga's a weird one because Darra was just straight up dominating this fight, but didn't know that he had to one-shot Mahoraga and just didn't have a secret backup technique, or at least that we're aware of. It does seem like he has something. There's something at the end of this chapter that is kind of crazy, but... So it's not ridiculous that he's getting his ass handed to him, because obviously he's figuring this out, but it's really nice to see him kind of react to this, because you can tell it's the first time he's really feeling like this. He just gets absolutely pounded, the fight looks great, the choreography is amazing, and the flashback is basically him talking to Darra, and them both kind of having this dynamic where they both found each other in that isolation of being the strongest, because this story treats them both, especially in this chapter, as very relative strength-wise. They seem completely relative, and it seems like they're far above the rest of both the Diskunte and the Samurian, or the Lemurian clans, which is pretty interesting. They were pretty good friends who only considered each other to be worthy opponents, like even worth fighting. And so, yeah, he thinks about Darra and all of that, and then in that moment where he's like been absolutely crushed against this wall and he's sat there like bleeding, and he thinks about Darra and he goes like, "You're amazing, Darra. Like, I genuinely think I'm about to lose this and it hurts and I'm scared, and you're telling me you did this?" Which is really, it's really dope, and there is the themes of isolation and stuff. Again, I just really like that we're making Darra not a Sukuna clone. I'm glad he's not just a really strong guy who wants to fade with everyone. I really like this idea of, you know, him fighting, still being that strong, but obviously because he's fighting Mahoraga and Mahoraga's adapted, there's not much he can do, and he's now confronted with the idea of complete and total loss, of just straight up losing and dying, which is scary to him, and I really like it. I don't know, it's just something really nice about it. And it makes me more interested in Darra as well. Like, I'd love to have seen what he was moving like, if he was able to be like somewhat relative to Darra. And then obviously things get like hella crazy because Darra gets his ass beat, but then he has the flashback and he does the classic anime locking in. He locks in, he thinks about Darra, and then he says straight up, bro, just when the agenda was getting good, I'm already seeing memes everywhere. Darra stands up and he grabs Mahoraga's fist mid-punch and he says, "I'm sorry. I'll fight properly now." What the fuck were you doing before, bro? What do you mean fight properly now? Like, nah, it's actually crazy, but Mahoraga gets thrown backwards, and then Darra pulls this awesome pose. Like, he looks so cool. He looks like he's about to whip out a new move. And the translation is kind of crazy, because it kind of throws the whole JJK speed thing into disarray again, by saying his body basically cannot keep up with light speed, so moving at light speed or accelerating to light speed would make his body tear itself apart, a bit like Shinra in Fire Force, which confirms, first of all, that JJK was never light speed. A character with Darra's massively high level durability, you know, being the high level character he is, his body wouldn't be able to stand light speed acceleration. So no Kashimo, no Sukuna, no Gojo, they were never light speed. Then it kind of does the opposite by saying he never utilizes light speed movement on himself because of this, right? Which implies that he can. Like, if he wanted to, he would be able to, and it looks like he's locking in to pull a Shinra and accelerate to near light speed, which is why at the end of the chapter, I assume it says Darra is the one to dance at sub-light speed. Sub-light speed obviously meaning below, but we don't know where below. Which could be a massive JJK upscale, because if Darra starts moving at like even close to the speed of light, or just above Mark III, then it might be time to scrap the Mark III statement, which is so exciting, because Mark III just holds the whole thing back. It's a weird one. We'll have to wait for real translations, but it does seem like we're edging into a lot more sort of power scalery territories here with the whole light speed statements. I'm very interested to see how that plays out, what it entails, what he's going to do to Mahoraga here. The agenda definitely works both ways in this chapter, because when you really break it down, Sukuna had a backup, Gojo had a backup, Darra didn't. But when it comes to it, base to base, he was beating the shit out of Mahoraga, right? If Sukuna didn't have anything in his back pocket, he loses to Mahoraga in Shibuya. If he didn't have a fire arrow, Sukuna straight up loses, like Mahoraga would have eventually beaten him. It's just unlucky he doesn't have anything else, so he started getting his ass handed to him. But now, It seems like he is going to do something which puts his own life on the line. I don't know, it's crazy, but I love this fight. I love how Darra is like this actual character that differs from Sukuna and Gojo. I think it's really exciting. And it's really nice seeing Mahoraga fighting and actually looking like he's winning a fight, because in all of his fights, he's kind of like Jogo. He's fighting Sukuna and Gojo, and they beat the crap out of him, and he looks a bit like a fraud, even though he's really cool. But in this fight, it's like Mahoraga is standing on business for the first time ever, and it's dope. But yeah, then Darra grabbing the fist and being like, oh, sorry, I wasn't really trying before. I'm gonna fight properly now. The agenda, the slander, it works both ways. I can't wait to see where it goes. I'm on both sides. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like bang in the middle. I don't really have a side. I think they're both dope. I want to know more about this Yuta, like, becoming way stronger after JJK thing. I want to know more about the ring. I want to see the Maru fight. There's not many chapters left. I don't know where we go from here, but Modulo is so peak, dude. It's so peak. I love it. I love it to bits. And yeah, the chapter ends with basically Darra saying, it's fine. Mahoraga's adapted to my techniques. I'm going to beat him to death with my bare hands. I don't know how he's going to do that, because that's not how Mahoraga works, but if he starts accelerating at the speed of light and runs through Mahoraga like Shinra, he might just do it. So who knows? Hell, maybe he's gonna run back time like Shinra and then, like, prevent the adaptation. It's crazy. I don't know. Realistically, we need Yuji to step in at this point, though. Anyway, that's it for Modulo. It's just hands. It's just like Mahoraga putting hands on Darra having a flashback, and then locking in. Peak. It's so peak I can't even speak, but I can't get the words out. Yeah, it's absolute cinema. So, like, subscribe, and I'll see you for the full chapter review on Sunday. Yeah.